Guys, I'm delighted to welcome back to the podcast the Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, 44th Attorney General of the state of Missouri. He's a combat veteran, father of four, former prosecutor, constitutional conservative, and he is involved in a very important free speech case, which is Missouri versus Biden, one that I've talked about and we've talked about together on the podcast. Welcome, Andrew Bailey. Thanks for joining me. You know, this legal process is a bit of a zigzag because judges issue injunctions that say, this is not a final verdict, but this is what can be decided for now. And then sometimes that gets appealed. So can you bring us up to speed on where this case is now and what the next step is?
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, there's a judicial process that governs the substance of the case. And every case that's ever filed, it moves. And so the parties and the court have to move with the case. And that's in part because you start with a complaint or a petition alleging a claim. And then as you receive discovery, your claim evolves. And that's what happened here. And so we're on an amended petition that had 1,400 individually numbered paragraphs with new facts, new allegations, law to support those facts and allegations. And it was based on the more than 20,000 pages of discovery we obtained from the federal government and the numerous depositions we took. And so as the case moved, we got to May 26th, where we filed a motion for preliminary injunction. The federal government responded with a motion to dismiss the case altogether. And so the court denied the federal government's motion to dismiss, said the case could go forward, that these claims were cognizable, they were legal claims, and that they would, if the evidence was there to support the claims, they would establish a violation of the First Amendment, that the Biden administration and the federal government had violated the First Amendment right to free speech. So we went to court on the motion for preliminary injunction on May 26th and put on evidence. And that was the evidence we obtained in preliminary discovery, the first phase, preliminary discovery, to get a preliminary injunction. And the court weighed the evidence and thought through the evidence and analyzed whether an injunction was appropriate. And then on July 4th, the trial court issued a nationwide preliminary injunction, laying the first brick in a wall of separation between tech and state to protect our First Amendment rights.
Okay, so the court issues an injunction basically saying, we think, based upon what we've seen, that the state of Missouri, and I guess in conjunction with Louisiana, will prevail in this case. And so we're going to make a decision now to forbid the Biden administration from colluding with these digital platforms. Now, as I understand it, they fought back against this injunction to ask the judge to put a stay on it, to prevent the injunction from going into effect. And haven't they also decided to appeal the injunction? Where does that stand?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So after the July 4th preliminary injunction came down, the Department of Justice filed a notice of appeal and a request that the trial court stay its own motion. In other words, not implement the injunction until the Court of Appeals weighs in. This is an interlocutory or kind of midstream appeal. The trial court judge said one of the prongs on the analysis for whether or not a preliminary injunction is appropriate is whether or not the plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits. The court found that based on the evidence that we put on at the hearing, that we were likely to succeed on the merits. And the court order, if you read the injunction, 155 pages long, but the very end is important. All it says is that the Biden administration can't coerce and collude with big tech social media to censor core political speech, that speech which is protected by the First Amendment. Basically, you can't violate the Constitution. That's all the court order says. And yet somehow the Department of Justice has the audacity to ask for a stay and to appeal. They are that dedicated to violating our rights to free speech. And the trial court analyzed the Department of Justice argument and said, well, the Department of Justice failed to put on any evidence to support the notion that the injunction prohibited lawful activity. In other words, what are they complaining about? And so the Department of Justice went up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and asked for a stay of the trial court order. In other words, asked that the injunction be halted. And the Court of Appeals has said, hey, let's just put pencils down and halt let's stay the injunction at the trial court level until August 10th, when we can have a hearing in front of a 3-judge panel at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals over the merits of the preliminary injunction and whether or not it should be stayed pending the remainder of the case. So on August 10th, we'll be back in court at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans, arguing that the stay is inappropriate. The injunction is absolutely appropriate based on the evidence adduced. And really, the injunction is narrowly tailored because all it's saying is don't violate the Constitution.
So Turning to the appeal court and focusing on that for a moment, some of the media reports gave me the idea that the appeals court had sort of reversed the lower court. But I think what you're saying is that the appeals court merely said, all right, listen, we want to find out more about this. We want the two parties to come before us. And so we are going to put a hold on this, but only for a few days until we hear the merits of this injunction, and then we will kind of issue our ruling. So in that sense, you're probably preparing at this point to go before the appellate court. Is that a correct statement?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, this is a brief pause until August 10th. So in the next few weeks, we'll be back in front of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals arguing in favor of the preliminary injunction that that first brick in the wall of separation between tech and state needs to stay in place and be solidly cemented and anchored into the firmament, and that that at the end of the day, the stay would be inappropriate. And so, I'm confident on our likelihood of success. We're in a very favorable venue. The Fifth Circuit is close adherence to the plain meaning of the law and to the original understanding of the text of the Constitution. So we feel like we'll get a favorable panel from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. But also, again, if you look at what the trial court judge said in the injunction, that the government is prohibited from working with social media to censor core political speech. That's it. It's going to be difficult for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals to say, no, that's okay. We're okay with the government coercing and colluding big tech social media to violate the Constitution. So I feel confident in our legal position and our likelihood of success at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in early August.
Let's take a pause. When we come back, more with Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. It's MyPillow's 20th year anniversary with over 80 million MyPillows sold, and Mike Lindell at MyPillow wants to thank each and every one of you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. You get a queen-size MyPillow for $19.98. Regular price, $69.98, and just $10 more for a king size. You get deep discounts on all the MyPillow products, the MyPillow bed sheets, the mattress toppers, the robes, the pet beds, the mattresses, the My Slippers, and so much more. This is the time to try out some of the other amazing products that you've had your eye on. Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Dinesh to get this amazing offer on the queen size MyPillow, $19.98, or call 800-876-0227. The offer comes with a 10-year warranty, a 60-day money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose, and it's time to start getting the quality sleep you deserve. Call 800-876-0227 or go to MyPillow.com. Don't forget to use the promo code DINESH Dinesh.